Yes, yes, that's true. I mean, the era when feud takes place, Capote versus the Swans, is the 70s. And I remember 1975 and watching True.
What if the most unforgettable love stories in Hollywood weren't the ones splashed across magazine covers, but the quiet, untold connections that slipped through the cracks? Behind every red carpet appearance and award-winning performance, Diane Lane was quietly living a parallel story. One filled with fleeting romances, private heartbreaks, and emotional crossroads hidden behind the camera. She was America's sweetheart, but few knew the full truth. What really happened between her and those iconic co-stars? And why did she walk away from it all? This isn't just about fame. It's about what we lose and what we choose to keep. It began with a flicker, a moment you almost missed but couldn't look away from. There was something in her gaze that whispered of stories untold, of secrets tucked behind those enchanting eyes. And that quiet mystery, that soft gap in what we know, pulled us in before the first frame even appeared. Diane Lane's life has always felt like that. Beautiful, elusive, and edged with an unspoken tension that you sense even before she steps into view. Have you ever paused mid-scene, struck by her presence, and wondered what lay beneath? That lingering question is our entry point. We're not just peeling back layers, we're tearing through illusions. Because behind every breath she took on screen, there was a girl yearning for something more. Something real. Her story starts in New York City, January 1965, amid glittering shows and silent hotels. Her mother, a nightclub siren and former Playboy model, painted Diane's earliest memories in smoky hues. Her father, a drama coach turned taxi driver, offered solace in the hum of the city lights. Their marriage dissolved 2 weeks after she was born. Custody became a battleground. For years she floated, first with her mother in Mexico's shifting light, then back in her father's custody, drifting hotel hallways and knotted city streets. It wasn't neutral terrain, it was the backdrop of instability no child should inherit. But the real fracture happened when she was just 15. Her mother, gripped by desperation, took Diane to Georgia. For 6 weeks, the courts fought, hearts shattered, and Diane, caught in that tug of war, found her own quiet defense. She returned to New York and severed contact. That silence echoed louder than any parent's promise. It was in that fracture that Diane's resilience took root. That hunger for belonging, for strength, for recognition, became her silent companion. No wonder when she walked onto a set, her co-stars felt more than chemistry. They felt gravity. She wasn't seeking validation in Hollywood. She was seeking a place to belong. By 6 years old, she was already performing in La Mama Experimental Theater Club. The child on stage projected more than lines. She projected presence. She toes the line between innocence and something far deeper. While other kids learned to ride bikes, Diane was balancing scenes and academics at Hunter College High School. The cameras weren't chasing her, she commanded them. Then came the legendary moment. At 13, beside the great Laurence Olivier in A Little Romance, she held her own. He famously whispered she was the next Grace Kelly, a teen stepping into the glow of Time magazine. Hollywood leaned in. The 80s became her proving ground. Coppola cast her as a soul amid young Hollywood and The Outsiders and Rumblefish. She stood tall at 18, sharing scenes with Tom Cruise, Matt Dillon, C. Thomas Howell, faces that would become icons but never eclipsed hers. The spark she carried wasn't taught. It was born of those early nights when survival meant being seen. Then the hard truths came. Ambitious films like Streets of Fire and The Cotton Club stumbled. Critics hushed, studios closed in. Walked away, she did. Not in defeat, but to heal. Back to Georgia, back to silence. Sometimes the only way forward is to pause, recalibrate, breathe. But true resilience isn't a retreat, it's a reconnection. In 1989, Lonesome Dove pulled her back into the spotlight. As Lena Wood, she wasn't the ingenue. She was a woman shaped by pain, shaped by resilience. The Emmy nomination wasn't just recognition, it was reclamation. Through the 90s, she quietly built a legacy. A Walk on the Moon in 1999 brought a subtle gravity to a conflicted 1960s housewife, a performance critics called meltingly effective. She wasn't screaming for attention, she was earning it. Then came 2002. Unfaithful. The suburban wife descending into desire, guilt, obsession. It wasn't sensational, it was seismic. Her performance earned an Academy Award nomination and reignited her career. Hollywood didn't just see Diane Lane again, it listened. She followed that with a string of nuanced roles. Under the Tuscan Sun in 2003 became a cinematic anthem of renewal, divorce, and rediscovery. Women around the world saw themselves in her. That connection, so quietly intimate, became her signature. In recent years, she has continued sharpening her craft. She stepped into the DC universe as Martha Kent in Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Justice League, offering grounded humanity to a cosmic storyline. She earned another Emmy nod in 2024 for FX's feud Capote versus the Swans, portraying Slim Keith with equal parts controlled grace and emotional depth. And audiences saw her again in Inside Out 2, where she reprised her voice role as Riley's mother, her presence reaching even through animation. That film became the highest-grossing animated feature in history. At 60, she remains quietly magnetic, not because of nostalgia, but because she continues to evolve. She appeared this spring at the Skin Cancer Foundation's Champions for Change Gala in May 2025. Her activism as earnest as any role, proof that she's never been one to rest on past glories. There were rumors, romances with co-stars, whispers in tabloids, but they never defined her. At 60, she addressed them head-on a recent interview, saying she's not haunted by gossip, but defined by her own voice. That voice? Still fierce, still inquisitive, unafraid to seek fresh roles beyond comfort zones. But behind every role, from the broken mother in Let Him Go to the upcoming thriller Anniversary, there's the echo of that eager child, longing for connection and validation, still performing to be seen. She's never been just an actress, she's been a storyteller of truths, resilience, reinvention, redemption. So what pulls us into Diane Lane's orbit? Not beauty, though that's obvious. It's the hunger beneath it, the longing, the memories of that lost little girl. Every glance she gives, every quiet scene she owns is loaded. It speaks of a life lived, a heart cracked open by love and loss, then put back together. It starts with Secretariat, where Diane embodied Penny Chenery, the poised yet iron-willed woman behind a legendary racehorse. Her performance radiated quiet determination, reminding us that real power often whispers, never shouts. Critics praised her authentic and elegant portrayal, and viewers remarked her sense of grace elevated the film's emotional core. Even in realms far removed from horse racing, Diane left her mark. In the cinema verite-style drama based on the Loud family saga, she captured Pat Loud's fierce vulnerability, a role that required unflinching emotional honesty. Then came Trumbo, a portrait of principle and defiance, where she held her ground among screen legends, showing audiences that conviction, not flash, cements a legacy. Her voice work in Pixar's Inside Out revealed another side: warmth, empathy, and gentle wisdom. This wasn't just cartoon emotion, it was emotional intelligence that connected across ages, a reminder that her gifts transcend medium. But the transformation reached new heights when she joined the DC universe as Martha Kent in Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Justice League. In a world of capes and explosions, Diane brought stillness, maternal grace, and emotional grounding. Critics noted that her presence was the emotional anchor for Superman's journey, an anchor strong enough to influence a generation. That kind of impact can't be faked. Then came Let Him Go, a mid-period Western thriller where she starred opposite Kevin Costner as a grandmother who refuses to surrender. Reviews described it as a gripping blend of sorrow and vengeance, with Diane delivering a performance both stoic and quietly fierce. Internet discussions praised the chemistry between Lane and Costner, noting the tension at a single dinner scene that gave me chills. Her inclusion in Time's 10 Best Movie Performances of 2020 showed she hadn't lost an ounce of her dramatic edge. That same year, Diane earned an Emmy nod for portraying Slim Keith in FX's feud Capote versus the Swans. Proof she still commands attention, even against the brightest new TV talent. And as recently as 2024, she reprised her voice role in Pixar's Inside Out 2, which became the highest-grossing animated film ever, showing her continued relevance in timeless storytelling. Fast forward to 1984, the Cotton Club introduced Richard Gere into Diane's orbit, a reunion that would echo again in 2002's Unfaithful. Their rekindled on-screen presence ignited intense speculation. In a candid 2003 interview, Gere said, "We have many lifetimes of history between us," while Diane stressed their bond was built on respect and creative synergy, not romance. Their electric performances spoke of depth, not tabloid fodder. The rumors, were they true? Their partnership was sacred, born of shared artistic trust. When Gere said they rarely spoke off camera yet sparked each time the lens rolled, that was proof. Chemistry doesn't require closeness, it demands honesty. By 2019, Diane's career intersected with Matthew McConaughey again in the thriller Serenity. On screen, they played ex-lovers tangled in mystery. Off-screen, McConaughey admitted he'd admired Diane since childhood, an admission charmingly innocent, rooted in genuine admiration. Diane swiftly clarified it was professional, no sparks, just mutual respect that enriched their collaboration, and treated fans to a glimpse of Hollywood's rare sincerity. Rumors floated around Lonesome Dove, where Diane and Robert Duvall played rugged partners across a vast Western odyssey. The mirage of romance followed them, fueled by their unfiltered on-screen intimacy. Diane shut it down, asserting that their connection was artistic, steeped in respect, not romance. That clarity didn't dampen the magic, it reinforced it. Even back in 1983 during The Outsiders, Diane experienced first love with Christopher Atkins. Teenagers in the making, their hearts collided on set. That connection was innocent, fleeting, tender, so easily buried by time that it became part of her origin story, not a headline. With each rumor, Diane kept one step ahead. Authentic, composed, always clear. She didn't need drama to define her, and that might be the most intriguing plot twist of all. From the first shy glances on The Outsiders to the unspoken warmth preserved decades later, Diane Lane's reflection on that youthful bond carries both sweetness and clarity. She played Cherry Valance, navigating teenage divides with a maturity beyond her years, while Christopher Atkins occupied the shadows of the set. Yet off-screen, something quietly blossomed. A genuine affection that flickered without fanfare. It didn't become tabloid fodder. Instead, it imprinted itself softly on her memory. Even now, Diane recalls that chapter not with longing, but with gratitude for its tenderness in a time of uprooted beginnings. That gentle spark from 1983 left a mark, reminding her that first connections aren't measured by longevity, but by their emotional imprint. Still, other moments flickered as fiercely, if only briefly. During The Outsiders, another whisper gathered momentum. Matt Dillon, the troubled Dallas Winston opposite Diane's poised character. Their on-screen electricity became off-screen closeness, a bond that surfaced amid the glare of public interest. Few headlines emerged, but those closest recall a young actress navigating early fame with dignity, learning that adoration could strain the heart. Their relationship ended without drama, leaving behind shared respect and a lesson in navigating youthful impulses under unforgiving lights. Flash forward to 1995 when Diane faced off with Sylvester Stallone in Judge Dredd. On screen, they bristled with tension. Off screen, she found a deeper creative spark. Not with Stallone, but with director Danny Cannon. Their hidden connection unfolded in quietly collaborative moments between takes, watched by few and discussed by fewer. They kept it discreet, but the closeness lingered through a handful of red carpet appearances. It was more than romance. It was the kind of fusion that happens when two creative forces find unexpected resonance. That understated alliance ended amicably, leaving Diane with another awareness of how stories are woven not just on screen but in private moments of shared artistry. Her path then briefly crossed with Nicolas Cage. They first met as young actors in Francis Ford Coppola's 1984 Rumblefish, and years later reunited in The Family Man in 2000. Their professional bond softened into something tender during that second film. A short-lived connection, neither sensational nor secretive. Diane later described it as a brief chapter defined by warmth and mutual respect. Again, no scandal erupted. What remained was a gentle camaraderie, demonstrating once more that her personal life never relied on manufactured drama. It simply grew within the quiet edges of genuine human interaction. Looking across all these connections, Christopher Atkins, Matt Dillon, Danny Cannon, Nicolas Cage, it's clear Diane Lane's romantic life quietly echoed her career. Elusive, layered, and never eager for headlines. None defined her publicly, yet each shaped her privately. The notable exception was Richard Gere, whose artistic partnership with Diane across decades, The Cotton Club, Unfaithful, and more, sparked intense speculation. Interviews from Gere hinted there was history between them, and Diane described an abiding trust that fueled their powerful performances. But beyond the rumors lay a rarer truth, that some of Hollywood's most compelling connections aren't tabloid exposures, they're creative alliances that bleed authenticity into art. At 60, Diane stands where many only wish to be, calm, confident, shaped by both roles and relationships past and present. After 2 marriages, first with Christopher Lambert, then Josh Brolin, she has entered a new chapter, centered on her daughter Eleanor, and a quieter life away from Hollywood's whirlwind. She seems to have chosen privacy over public attention, depth over glitz, reflection over spectacle. And yet, she continues to accept roles that resonate with that same integrity she's carried since childhood. But beyond the emotional arcs lies the financial landscape that celebrities navigate. And Diane's path is far from accidental. She has transformed her artistry into a foundation for lasting prosperity, and her lifestyle choices offer lessons in deliberate wealth building. She has been photographed behind the wheel of a Porsche Cayenne, elegant, refined, understated, while in earlier years she was seen driving a black Range Rover, a nod to her functionality and flair. Timepieces aren't just accessories. She has sported a Rolex Datejust, a classic that underscores both taste and value retention. Diane owns property in Manhattan's Greenwich Village and reportedly a ranch-style home in upstate New York, showcasing her appreciation for both urban roots and rustic retreat. Rumors hint she's acquired ownership in a boutique production company, but she has remained tight-lipped, suggesting a careful eye on control and stewardship rather than spotlight. It's believed she uses top-tier health and career insurance, evidenced by her continued presence in major franchises like the DC Universe, an asset protection move that reflects long-term planning. Her brand collaborations, especially for wellness lines and understated luxury fashion, speak to an alignment rather than endorsement, choosing partnerships that echo her personal values. She has developed a reputation as a modest investor, reportedly diversifying into real estate funds, quietly building a portfolio that mirrors her private nature. The lesson in all this? Diane Lane's financial acumen isn't flashy. It's rooted in consistency, calculated choice, and sustainability. She didn't chase high-risk deals. She chose investments that pointed to longevity. She chose assets that appreciate over time, homes, watches, reliable vehicles, and projects that echoed her values. Nebulous ownership over fame, depth over trendiness. Beyond box office and tabloids, Diane's life story reveals that resilience isn't just emotional, it's structural. From split childhood to mature strategy, she has constructed her life with intention, earning influence not by noise but by the quiet wealth of respect, dignity, and wisdom. Her career arc, from teenage ingenue to mature guardian of cinematic humanity, mirrors her financial transformation, from roles reliant to assets intentional. But perhaps the most unexpected turning point remains the one she's writing now. Choosing privacy over publicity, meaning over spectacle. At an age when many reinvent themselves with scandal or rebranding, she chooses reflection, artistry, authenticity. If there's a final mystery to Diane Lane, it's this. She continues to surprise by doing less noise, more depth. And we're still watching. As we close this 3-act journey, the question lingers. In a world fixated on celebrity shine, what happens when someone with her talent decides that silence is her ultimate stage? For Diane Lane, perhaps that's the final and most profound scene, leaving us with the quiet power of a life lived on her own terms. Diane Lane's journey wasn't shaped by scandal or spectacle, but by quiet strength, enduring passion, and the kind of emotional depth that never fades. Her story reminds us that some of the most profound transformations happen away from the spotlight. From early stardom to enduring elegance, from whispered romances to financial wisdom, Diane carved out a legacy on her own terms, fiercely private, deeply human, and endlessly captivating. If this glimpse into her world moved you, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Which chapter surprised you the most? And which celebrity story should we explore next? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another story that looks beyond the headlines. Because in a world full of noise, Diane Lane showed us the beauty of restraint and the power of living a life not for attention, but for truth.